Alexis, and this is your favorite Black Lobbyist podcast. Today, let's talk about some federal watch things, right? So let's kind of get into what are some bills or what are some things to kind of look out for. I want to kind of get into one bill that I know has made waves, this year, and it's called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, right? I'm pretty sure everyone is familiar with it, and I just kind of wanted to break it down, a little bit of what it could mean. I have my notes here, and potentially how this could impact you, right? So it won't probably be a long conversation, but definitely something that I know a lot of people, because it is a very large bill. I think it's over 80 something pages. And for those, of course, in the industry, lobbyists, lawmakers, when bills are that long, it can be hard and a lot to get through, especially because some things aren't as straightforward. And it's sometimes, you have to have the skill set to kind of read through a bill a little bit. So to make sure you understand what language means, how it impacts you, how it impacts businesses, communities, etc. So, of course, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act was a bill that was passed, I believe, in the summer of 2025. And it definitely, like I said, includes hundreds of pages of provisions, kind of touching across the areas of taxes, healthcare, food assistance, immigration enforcement, and of course, border security. A lot of hot topic issues that impacts people on the local and state side of things outside of it just being a federal legislation. And so, it's definitely been controversial. It's something that a lot of people have either rooted for or saying this is the worst bill on earth. And so I just kind of want to go through the facts of everything and kind of go through what the bill talks about and kind of just some of the points about it. I don't want to get too much into the emotions and how, um, this can emotionally impact people, but I do just want to go through things and then, we can kind of go from there making a decision. Um, you making a decision for yourself and what better helps you and serves you and your families. So some of the key provisions in the Big Beautiful Bill Act, honestly, can I just say this? Why do they call it that? That is honestly such a dumb name, but that's just my personal opinion. I think I don't know why. I don't know. It's just kind of stupid, but they could have did something better. But some of the key provisions are changes to SNAP. So for those that aren't aware, SNAP is a food assistance program that I believe each state has. It's a federal program, and its work requirements and eligibility. It definitely reduced support for Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act in certain circumstances. So I think with the SNAP program, before, I believe you didn't really need to have or need to show or provide work requirements. If you didn't have a job or you were low income or struggling to get a job, or you lost your job, you were able to get food assistance, um, you know, um, for you and your family. And I think also, too, if you were in college as well, you were eligible as well. But I think now you have to show some level of work requirement that you're working, you're doing something, whether it's volunteering, whether it is something. You have to show that you're doing or working towards something. And I think the eligibility requirements might have shifted a little bit. Um, and of course, I know Medicaid is a big hot topic issue, state and federal, um, and whether we should be paying for Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act, or providing health care to people or citizens, or paying for taxpayer dollars. Again, I know that's like a hot button issue. And like I said, I don't want to get too much in the emotions about it, but it is something in the bill that I think it does reduce support for that as well. And for tax related things, I know this might be for like businesses, whether you're a small business or a large business or corporation. There is some reforms in tax policy. There's adjustments to incentives for clean energy, electric vehicle tax credits, because I know electric vehicles are a big thing nowadays, and other climate oriented benefits, with tighter restrictions. So I know I'm kind of speaking high level on some things. It is a lot. And if you want me to go in more detail, I will be happy to do a part 2 on this bill to actually take it deeper into some of the things. So definitely please let me know down below in the comments, what are some of the things that I mentioned today that really speaks out to you that you really want to learn more about? And then I'll definitely think about doing a part 2 on going more deeper into what some of these things and how it impacts the communities and people that are affected by this stuff. Okay, moving on. I would say another key point is immigration and the detention funding. So I know, again, that's another big hot button issue, policy issue, especially this year with immigration, the ICE raids, beefing up ICE facilities and the department. And just really putting more funding into it. And so, of course, there's been a substantial increase in funding for border protection and enforcement, detention capacity, deportations, and just other immigration policy enforcement. I know we've been hearing in the media or seeing in the media or even articles where they're definitely trying to create more detention facilities for ICE. For the ICE raids or people that have been affected by immigration or deportation. Um, and of course, for border security has been an ongoing issue, I would think, since uh, when was President Trump's first term? I think 2020. Or I'm sorry, 2016. I apologize, 2016. So border security has definitely been a hot button topic for going on 9-10 years now, or 8 to 10 years now. So definitely something that I know evokes a lot of emotions out of people, especially those that are impacted by the immigration policies that's been happening and deportations that's been happening, because it impacts a lot of people, not only just certain communities or certain persons. So in this bill, it definitely beefs up the funding towards immigration and detention funding. And also, there's new resources given to local law enforcement as well, that's tied to immigration and border operations. I know I recently seen a video. I forgot what mayor this was. Um, Hopefully I can remember and I could tag the video into here, but it was a mayor where he pretty much, or I'm sorry, he wasn't the mayor. I apologize. He was the sheriff, a local sheriff of a city or county. Again, I'll put it in the description below. But he pretty much came out and said, "Look, I am not going to be out here using these resources for ICE raids. I'm not going to be a part of it. I'm not doing anything immigration related. I'm going to protect and serve the people of this community and the same people of the community that have been paying their taxes, that are hard workers." His words, not mine.
I don't care what country you're from. If you commit a crime in this country or commit a crime in this county, I'm coming for you. But what I refuse to do is take this notion that we need to be knocking on doors or arresting children or going into daycare centers or restaurants and taking and snatching people off these streets. It's not within our purview. It's not within our responsibility, and I won't participate in it.
So you can see and view it yourself. But he definitely said he wasn't going to be a part of that. So I know that's definitely some resources towards that. Um, Also, some public health has been also a big thing, especially with like the decrease in funding and a lot of uh, the cuts for the CDC that's been impacting a lot of people I know, because a lot of people are kind of like up in arms about that, because we just are, really kind of getting back to normal or recovering from COVID when it first hit us. And that was a really big, you know, epidemic that was happening within not only just our country but across the world. And so, I know a lot of people are kind of nervous about the cuts happening to the CDC, because I know with COVID being on the rise, on top of a lot of other health scares, meningitis is back and plaguing people. I know, especially in Atlanta, there's been like a couple of cases that's been reported of people having meningitis and it being fatal and being sick. So please make sure you are taking care of yourselves, especially like I said, we're going into the fall, winter seasons. Please, 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 PSA, wash your hands. Wash your hands. Make sure you are covering your mouth. If you're sick, do not go into work. Don't go into public places. And just make sure when you are touching surfaces, carry hand sanitizer. Just please protect yourself, because there's just a lot that's spreading. Outside of the sexual health diseases as well, a lot of other diseases are going around. And this is a time where it increases. So please definitely make sure you are taking care of yourselves. But with public health impacts the health access for low income, unhoused, or medically underserved populations due to, of course, the changes to Medicaid, or other healthcare funding, like again with CDC, other federal agencies that's being impacted. I'm pretty sure the Department of Health or Department of Health Services is being impacted as well on the federal side. And so outside of just impact to funding and decrease of funding with on the federal side, it's also an increase of costs, right? We've been in an inflationary economic season for a really long time now. And of course, I think we're already in a looming, if not recession. So, the increase of costs for basic needs, right? Your basic necessities, cost of living has increased, whether it's with housing, whether it's just going for your groceries, gas. A lot of prices are increasing, but the cost of, payment to your job and your healthcare, all that's being impacted. I mean, it does make it difficult to live. And so, again, I definitely know that that's going to be a big impact to certain communities and people or persons that are already in low income communities. But also, I want to reach out to I want to really connect with the rural area. I mean, I'm from rural coastal Georgia, from South Georgia. And, at one point, the only grocery store that we have and actually still do have in Darien, McIntosh County, Darien, Georgia, McIntosh County it was a Piggly Wiggly. Now it's a Bilo. I believe, I don't know if it's changed to something else, but we have to go to the next county over to access, a Publix or a Walmart or a Sam's, or certain things, right? And so, and I don't even think, I'm pretty sure even like a hospital. So, I know a lot of rural counties, especially in Georgia, in areas, because a lot of Georgia is rural, um, are going to probably be impacted by this because, again, it's not already a lot out there in rural areas and access to things is already limited. So decreasing that access is already just causing more, I think, strife and tension on top of, where the workforce is, with the workforce not being able to afford to keep a lot of employees, and because of what's going on, with tariffs and the economy, a lot of businesses and companies and these plants and warehouses are moving and taking their business out of the country, out of state, to, foreign places, and so, or foreign countries. And so, a lot of it's being packed. And I know recently with the new Hyundai plant in Savannah, Georgia, with the recent ICE raids there, that impacted and cost a lot of people their jobs. And so also talking about the reality of not only that we just removed a lot of people that were working there, but who's going to replace those workers to keep that plant there and alive? It's a very new plant. And you also have to talk about the realities of how people have to travel, because where the plant is located, it's going to take people, at least without traffic, 45 minutes to get to work, to and fro. And if you're already talking about increased costs, you have to, people are probably needing to carpool to save money on gas that are going to work at the plant. There's a lot that goes into the cost of living to even just get to work on a daily, as a daily, right? So, as we are thinking through, these bills and legislations and laws that are getting passed and coming through, we have to take sometimes it's hard to get into discern between the emotions about it, because I know it impacts real life people, but we have to also think through, how is this going to impact me as a person? Not because I am a Democrat or I'm a Republican or I'm a liberal, I'm a conservative. It's nothing to do with that. This impacts everybody, whether you're Black, whether you're white, whether you're Hispanic, whether you are immigrant. It impacts everybody, right? And when we're talking about keeping things within, America, and outsourcing, you got to think through, okay, are you going to be the ones to work this job? And if so, how does that impact your daily life? How far does the commute work? And, do you have kids? And all of that impacts it. So, when we're thinking through these legislation, we really have to think through, how does this really impact me and my community that I live in, that I serve in? And again, I know it really touches on having empathy, extending grace, but, just something, again, to really think through, as we are, um, as we're going through this in real time, right? Um, And, kind of lastly, it impacts, local government and community partner, so a lot of local governments and nonprofits are involved in, of course, like I mentioned earlier, clean energy, electric vehicles, green infrastructure. And so you may, as a company side, from a corporate function, you may see fewer incentives or even more restrictions to that. So I know a lot of I used to work in the hospitality industry. So I know a lot of hotels are switching to green industry and green infrastructure because, you want to make sure you're conserving energy, conserving water. And if there's going to be, fewer incentives or restrictions on it, it makes it a lot harder to fund and keep a building or keep a business open. And that trickles down to the consumer, because if it costs more money, if I'm not getting some tax breaks on how to maintain my business, and I'm already a small business owner, I'm already, independently operating and owning it myself, it's going to come down to the consumer to front a lot of that cost. So now your hotel stays may be more expensive because we have to charge more in order to maintain and upkeep the building. The same way with your, restaurants you may go to. That chicken and waffles, or, certain things that used to be maybe not as expensive, the price may increase because I now have to charge more in order to keep my business open, right? And that happens with anybody, right? So, thinking through it from that lens, right? I want us to be able to open up our perspective. I want us to be able to look at it from different angles, different and different sides. When we're talking about businesses, when we're talking about the consumer, when we're talking about just the average everyday person, and how legislation and laws impacts us. And then, of course, lastly, I know with public safety grants and funding is tied to major event security. Of course, the big thing, I know for Atlanta and a lot of cities and states in America, is the FIFA World Cup is coming next year. And so that's going to impact a lot of people, right? The Olympics, of course, is a every 4-year event, a major event that comes to certain areas. And so, some of those resources are tied to stricter conditions, right? And so as we are kind of looking at this bill, as big as this bill is, we have to look at it from different lenses, different sides. And so I really want us to kind of think through that as we are listening and hearing different policy things that are happening, as we are, having these conversations, right? As we're listening to different media outlets, make sure, again, I encourage you to, you know, do your own research. Read things for yourself. Don't just take my word for everything. Don't take certain other people's words or certain outlets' words for everything. Read it for yourself. I'm happy to be a source to where I can open you up to things, but I always encourage people, read for yourself and, educate yourself on this stuff, right? I don't want to be, your main teacher. I want you to be able to then think through, how does this, impact me, and not just only me but others in the community that I serve. We are community-based people, y'all, so we have to really make sure that we're always looking outside of ourselves to a certain degree. Of course, you want to think through, how does this impact me and my family, but also think through, how does this impact the community that I'm in? What does my community look like? Does my community reflect me, right? And if it doesn't reflect just me, again, as a believer, if you do believe in anything, extend that olive branch, extend and really feed into what loving thy neighbor looks and feels like, right? Extend empathy and grace. And so in these times where it does impact people, and it may not impact you the way that it's impacting others, still have empathy and grace for others, because, people, this is real life for people. And at the end of the day, we're stronger together than we are divided. Please definitely let me know anything that I said today, if it resonated with you, or if you want to hear more about it. I will be happy to talk more about it and make a part 2 of this video. Definitely please comment, like, and subscribe, follow, and please engage. Drop down in the comments. Let me know what you said, what anything resonated with you, okay? I love y'all. Definitely see y'all next time. Bye.